3 workers free this Friday night.
They're in good spirits. It was just, winning hockey game.
The heavy-duty machinery that helped rescue the men trapped underground for days. Endless tragedy inside a war-torn Gaza hospital. The overwhelmed staff, desperate patients, and the Canadian doctor on the front lines.
The mother had been shot in the head the night before and did not survive.
As Canada's Prime Minister criticizes Israel. Dissecting the decision at the Hockey Canada trial. Why sex assault cases often don't end with convictions. Plus, knocking it out of the park.
We're gritty as hell.
How the Toronto Blue Jays are on their way to having their best regular season.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Carolyn Jarvis.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The 3 workers who spent 60 hours trapped deep underground a BC mine have been reunited with their families. Rescuers used drones and a remote-controlled scoop to reach the men late last night. The company they worked for released this image of the workers this afternoon. The 3 men in the middle emerged from the Red Chris mine safe and unharmed.
Certainly when the rescue team announced to us, we've got all 3 of them, they're in good spirits. I mean, goosebumps as I say it, happiness, but more happiness for them.
The rescue was meticulously coordinated, and company officials say the 3 men did everything right to ensure their survival. Our Neetu Garcha was at the mine today and has more on the rescue. Neetu.
Carolyn, there is such a sense of relief in this part of northern BC. After more than 60 hours trapped underground, all 3 workers are safe. And with the rescue now complete, the focus is turning to what went wrong deep beneath Red Chris mine. This is the rugged terrain and dense wilderness that sits atop what the British Columbia government calls one of the largest and highest quality copper and gold deposits in the world. And now a tense rescue mission beneath that landscape has come to a successful close.
When the approach from the first responder said, we've got them, they're in good spirits, it was just, winning hockey game. So we were just overwhelmed.
Just before 11 p.m. Thursday, Darian Madouk, a driller's helper from BC, Kevin Coombs, a driller from Ontario, and fellow driller Jesse Chubati from Manitoba were brought safely to the surface after spending 2 nights trapped underground in Red Chris mine. Chubati posting to Facebook to say, "Thank you everyone for reaching out. What a wild week this has been. Glad to be out of there. To all my mining brothers, stay safe down there."
Well, they said they actually had a good sleep and they could catch up on sleep.
They took shelter in a reinforced refuge chamber designed precisely for emergencies like this, equipped with oxygen, food, water, and a toilet. A remote-controlled scoop brought in from another site cleared through a massive pile of debris up to 30 meters long and nearly 8 meters high.
It seems like it's a textbook case of how to do a rescue properly. They had a lot of rock to move and get through.
The company, Newmont Corporation, says the drillers were found in good health and good spirits.
It's a relatively rare occurrence, and so mines don't get to practice this very often.
Underground operations here remain halted as an investigation continues into the incident at what is one of BC's largest mining operations.
Well, every time there's an incident like this, as a province, we learn from it. The companies learn from it.
It's not a common thing, and it's not a common thing for this operation. We will do an extensive inspection and investigation into this incident, and ultimately we will share the results of this incident so that we can learn from that.
What caused these unexpected collapses at a mine with no history of geotechnical instability is now the focus. As investigators begin digging into what happened, there will be scrutiny underground and relief above. After this rare and tense rescue, we're told that the workers have reunited with their families and that they're just glad to be easing back into the daily routines of life above ground. Carolyn?
Neetu Garcha in Iskut, BC. Thank you. New remarks by U.S. President Donald Trump have once again thrown cold water on trade talks with Canada. He says he's not hopeful our countries can reach a deal ahead of the August 1st deadline. That's the date tariffs could increase to 35% on some Canadian goods. As Jackson Proskow reports, the Carney government says any agreement will take time.
We don't have a deal with Canada. We haven't been focused on it.
The off-the-cuff comments from President Donald Trump came at a delicate moment in U.S.-Canada trade talks as Ottawa tries to stave off Trump's threatened 35% tariff on Canadian imports.
We haven't really had a lot of luck with Canada. I think Canada could be one where they'll just pay tariffs, not really a negotiation.
It's the first time in nearly 2 weeks Trump has spoken about talks with his country's largest export partner. Though Trump didn't elaborate, the Carney government has also downplayed expectations of a deal by Trump's August 1st deadline. Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc has pressed the flesh in Washington this week with members of the Trump administration and influential senators.
We're going to continue to do the difficult work and take the time necessary until the Prime Minister decides that the deal that's on the table is the best deal we can get. So we've made progress, but we have a lot of work in front of us.
Canada's steel and aluminum industries are already feeling the pinch of Trump's sectoral tariffs, unsure where they'll stand with or without a trade deal.
If it stays like this, I mean, we could see an 8 to 10% job loss eventually, which could be significant, in Canada, because we're talking thousands and thousands of employees.
Same goes for Canada's auto sector, which now faces higher tariffs than Japanese automakers after Trump announced a deal with Japan this week.
With that type of momentum stacking against the Canadian deal, we absolutely need to make it clear just how different trading with Canada is.
Bottom line, no one knows what the trading landscape will look like next week, next month, or next year. But the first batch of trade deals signed by Trump with other nations suggests some sort of tariffs are here to stay, whether negotiated or simply imposed. Jackson Proskow, Global News, Washington.
Donald Trump seems unable to dodge the Jeffrey Epstein issue. Today, the president was asked about the possibility of pardoning Epstein's associate and convicted sex trafficker, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if she cooperated?
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
Trump also lashed out at former President Bill Clinton, claiming Clinton flew to Epstein's island 28 times while he never went. Meanwhile, officials with the Justice Department confirmed they spent a second day questioning Maxwell in Florida. The interview has sparked criticism about whether the Trump administration could offer her a pardon in exchange for testimony that's favorable to Trump. Also today, Trump has accused Hamas of not wanting a ceasefire deal in Gaza, saying the group will likely be, quote, hunted down. The U.S. and Israel have pulled their negotiators from ceasefire talks in Qatar, and both countries say they're considering alternative options to bringing home the remaining hostages held by Hamas. As hopes for a ceasefire deal fade, international pressure is growing on Israel, including from Prime Minister Mark Carney, to end the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Touria Izri reports.
A hunger crisis spilling over in Gaza, drawing condemnation against Israel from some of its closest allies, including Canada.
It's really important that Canada speak truth to power. That's the standard we use for assessing the justness or rightness of any action by our friend or enemy.
Prime Minister Mark Carney calls Israel's denial of aid a violation of international law. Canada condemns the Israeli government's failure to prevent the rapidly deteriorating humanitarian disaster in Gaza. Israel's control of aid distribution must be replaced. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister spoke with her Israeli counterpart about the need to unblock assistance and free up some of the $300 million in Canadian aid.
That aid, however, is not being permitted to flow. And the result is catastrophic.
Israel says it's allowing foreign aid drops and rejected Canada's criticism, insisting it never blocks any assistance, including from Canada. Ottawa's criticism comes as France announces a major shift, pledging to recognize Palestinian statehood at the United Nations General Assembly in September.
It signals to other countries that G7 countries do not need the U.S. to make bold statements.
But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accuses Macron of rewarding terrorism. A Palestinian state in these conditions would be a launchpad to annihilate Israel. America's top diplomat Marco Rubio slammed the move as reckless, while U.S. President Donald Trump dismissed it altogether.
He's okay. He's a team player, pretty much. But here's the good news. What he says doesn't matter.
Carney and his British counterpart repeated their commitment to a two-state solution. But neither is willing to go as far as the French president by recognizing a Palestinian state and drawing the anger of Israel and the U.S. Carolyn?
Touria Izri, thank you. Aid agencies in Gaza, meanwhile, are accusing Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war. The medical charity MSF, or Doctors Without Borders, says what its workers are witnessing in Gaza is, quote, unconscionable, adding that hunger has reached unprecedented levels both among patients and its staff. Redmond Shannon spoke with a Canadian doctor working with MSF on the front lines and a warning some of these images are disturbing.
The most vulnerable of all Gazans, with stories that could fill a lifetime of tragedy.
The first day I arrived, I asked, what's the story on this baby? Yes, the mother had been shot in the head the night before and did not survive. And this baby was their 6-month baby, 6-month gestation baby. And then sadly, the dad came later in the day to meet his new baby, and he was on crutches because of a previous bombardment. He had a leg amputated. But he comes every day on his crutches to see his baby and hold his baby.
Ottawa-based Dr. Joanne Perry is on her third assignment to Gaza with MSF, Doctors Without Borders, working at the neonatal intensive care unit at Al Hillu Hospital.
Each time I come, the situation is worse. We're at the tipping point now. The population is starving. There's lack of access to food, and the rates of malnutrition are climbing at an exponential rate.
Perry says food shortages mean mothers are less likely to carry babies to term and less able to breastfeed.
They're becoming anemic, and 10 to 20% of them are clinically malnourished. So this puts their pregnancies at risk.
Power outages mean refrigerated breast milk often has to be thrown out. Many mothers struggle to safely get to the hospital to see their newborns. Now, 4 or even 5 babies have to share.
It's very bad for infection control. These babies are very susceptible to infections, even in the best possible circumstances.
Perry is eating 1 meal a day. She shares the energy bars she brought from Canada with her colleagues.
So imagine coming to work in the hospital, overcrowded, busy hospital, without ventilation, without having eaten for 2 days. And yet they come, they're resilient, they're committed. What is it that the world has to say and do to open those borders and let the aid come in?
Here in London, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the UK will now do everything it can to get aid in via airdrops. And he says he will now go further to help the youngest victims of the war.
We are accelerating efforts to evacuate children from Gaza who need critical medical assistance, bringing them to the UK for specialist medical treatment.
Those words are unlikely to satisfy the growing number of his own party MPs who want him to recognise the state of Palestine. Carolyn?
Redmond Shannon in London, thank you. Some hospitals in Alberta are now permitted to restrict visitors because of the measles outbreak. Alberta Health Services says pediatric hospitals, intensive care units, labour and delivery units, and areas related to cancer treatment can restrict visitors to protect vulnerable patients. Several cancer care centres have already implemented the measures. A nationwide measles outbreak is spreading, with more than 3,400 cases so far this year, the majority of them in Alberta and Ontario. The issue of consent coming up. The national conversation sparked by the Hockey Canada sexual assault trial and the judge's decision. Plus, the Philippines can't catch a break, the latest deadly weather system pummeling the country. Reaction continues to pour in after all 5 former Hockey Canada players were found not guilty in a sexual assault trial yesterday. Advocates for survivors of sexual violence say the decision shows a lack of trauma-informed understanding and will be a big deterrent for victims thinking of coming forward. But the judge said her job was to assess the facts and not morality, something legal experts say was the right call. Jeff Semple has more on the debate surrounding consent in Canada's legal system.
Supporters of EM, the complainant in the Hockey Canada sex assault trial, gathered once more outside the courthouse after the ruling with a message.
Now we have to work harder to show women that they're not alone and that they will be believed.
Justice Maria Carosia did not believe EM's claims that she did not consent to sexual activity with the 5 accused hockey players. Although the slogan, "Believe the victim," has become popularized of late, it has no place in a criminal trial, she said.
Hearing the judgment and how thoroughly the judge really discredited her, we're already hearing people saying, "I will never report."
The vast majority of sexual assaults go unreported. Most cases never make it to trial, and when they do, the conviction rate is less than half. Advocates say part of the reason is the way victims often respond to assaults. EM testified she went along with it because she was afraid, describing disassociation, an out-of-body experience.
That is like a very deep evolutionary instinct. I've experienced it myself.
This former criminal lawyer says she had a similar experience with a strange man on a trip to Mexico in her 20s. Studies and brain scans have found that extreme stress can knock out the prefrontal cortex responsible for rational judgment. The result can look like consent, but it's motivated by fear.
That really resonated, and I truly believe her. That still doesn't mean that the events in question pass the criminal threshold of proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Joanna Barron and several other legal experts told Global News they agree the judge's ruling was the right one.
It worries me if people think that the outcome of this trial means that there's a full vindication and exoneration of what happened in that room that night, because it doesn't mean that at all.
In a statement, the National Hockey League called the accused players' behavior unacceptable. They remain ineligible to play while the league conducts its own review. The players' union is now appealing, arguing they have the right to resume their careers. Jeff Semple, Global News, Toronto.
Inching closer to war. Ahead, the warnings from Thailand as violence with a neighboring country forces thousands to flee. A 100 million Americans are trying to cool off today as a scorching heat dome hangs over the eastern United States. Temperatures range between 30 to 45 degrees from Texas all the way up to Maine, with many cities under weather warnings. Here in Canada, heat warnings are also in place in Toronto down through the Niagara region. Temperatures are expected to ease tomorrow before potentially rising again on Sunday. And an ongoing heat wave in Finland has broken an all-time record. For 14 days straight, the country has seen nationwide temperatures over 30 degrees. The heat is renewing concerns about the impact of climate change in Arctic regions. Tropical storm Komay swept across the northern Philippines today as the country was already dealing with a week of deadly weather. At least 25 people have died from floods, landslides, and fallen trees over the past week, and more than 278,000 have been forced from their homes. Komay made landfall Thursday night with sustained winds of 120 kilometers per hour. At least 77 towns and cities have declared a local emergency. Thailand is warning its border clashes with Cambodia could move towards war as the fighting between the two countries spreads. At least 19 people have been killed, mostly Thai civilians. Artillery, drones, and rocket fire hit villages, schools, and even a hospital. Nearly 60,000 Thais and 23,000 Cambodians have fled their homes. The UN Security Council is holding an emergency meeting while calls for peace talks grow. Thailand insists the conflict must be resolved in direct talks, not through outside mediation. Toronto Blue Jays are flying high. The surprising reasons for their success. Next. The uphill climbs on the Tour de France weren't as grueling as they could have been today. Organizers shortened the route of Stage 19 from 130 to 93 kilometers to avoid a region where cattle had to be culled because of a skin disease. Cows cannot spread the disease to people, but in a statement, organizers said the route was modified in light of distressed farmers and to ensure the race went smoothly. Well, baseball may be America's pastime, but the only team north of the border, the Toronto Blue Jays, is at the top of the league. The Jays have won 15 of 19 games this season. As Eric Sorensen reports, it's not just the team's stars who are shining.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, or George Springer and Alejandro Kirk, the big names you're used to hearing when the Blue Jays rally. But wait, there's hard-hitting Addison Barger, versatile Ernie Clement, Joey Loperfido, who was down in AAA just weeks ago, and Davis Schneider, fast becoming a fan favorite. A team full of new names and no names, and celebrating like kids it seems almost every game. Take Eric Lauer, who was pitching in South Korea last year, now throwing like an ace for Toronto.
It's a lot of fun coming to the ballpark every day. It's a great clubhouse. Everybody's jiving together. We're having a lot of fun together.
Not only have the Jays reeled in the Yankees in the American League East, look at the entire American League. 2 months ago, the Blue Jays were in the bottom half, 10th place, and going nowhere. And then they began winning and climbing, and now they are on top of the American League. No one saw that coming. Least of all, the Yankees. One Yankees broadcaster said of Toronto, they're not a first-place team, just before the Jays took over first place. The Jays manager, he's heard the naysayers.
A gritty team that, isn't sustainable, and I think the exact opposite. I think we're gritty as hell. But I think a lot of the stuff we're doing is going to lead to a lot of wins.
The Jays are doing everything well. Pitching, fielding, hitting, base running. The Jays' longtime broadcast host says he's never seen anything quite like it.
As a bunch of no-name grinders, who knows Joey Loperfido outside of Canada? Who knows Davis Schneider? This is a lineup full of guys who are committed to one thing, and that's playing the game the way they've been instructed to, and it seems to be working.
Still 2 months to go, but the players are pulling for each other and building confidence day by day.
Winning makes everything better. It makes baseball fun. Baseball's fun when you win.
They still seem a little amazed by their success, but these Blue Jays have got the attention of just about everyone in Major League Baseball. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
And that is Global National for this Friday night. I'm Carolyn Jarvis. Tonight's Your Canada showcases this patriotic lawn ornament in St. John's, a patio in Simcoe, Ontario, and a front yard in Airdrie, Alberta. Thanks for watching.